today. And now I welcome Mitch Bittermann from the Dubai CommerCity. And I invited him actually to understand the concept of the FreeZone, what it is and what is meant. But maybe let's start with you. You've been around in this region for some while. Can you give us a brief background of your career, and then let's head into the FreeZone concept?
Sounds good. Thanks for having me, Alex. So just a bit of my background. I've been not that long in the region. Actually, it's only been 2 months, but I just relocated from Asia for the past 14 years. I spent in Asia, Singapore, Bangkok, as well as Hong Kong. And I started in hardcore supply chain logistics and then moved basically into more on a B2C perspective, setting up the first e-commerce business. And then I helped a startup out of Bangkok, A-commerce, to be an e-commerce enabler. And afterwards, I basically joined Adidas, one of my brands, and managing e-commerce across Southeast Asia until I got that offer from Dubai CommerCity. And then I said, it's probably time to relocate and try something new.
Okay, then you're the best man to explain us what a FreeZone actually is. And because Dubai CommerCity, that's a FreeZone concept, but I think from many European listeners, they've never heard about it. So what is it exactly?
So FreeZone, you can also potentially say it's a free trade zone. So what it basically does is you bring products into the market, and by the end of the day, you're saving taxes by doing that. So there won't be any import GST. The import GST only applies when you consume it locally. So that makes it actually an ideal location for brands or for retailers to come into the market, set up their own entity, set up their own company, and then export it out as a regional hub. And there are some other benefits. We have a blockchain solution where we directly integrate to customs. So basically the consumer and whatnot, if they have B2C e-commerce shipments coming in, it will be automatically sent to customs, and you can avoid all the handling charges. Last but not least, and I think this is what people find most appealing, is we are one-stop shop. So that means we are offering everything from a consultancy perspective up to setting up your business, as well as giving you warehouse space.
But how should I imagine a FreeZone? Is it really a zone in the city with some warehouses, office hubs, logistics space where the physical merchandise is actually arriving? Or is it more like a virtual setup where you're offering this kind of tax protection scheme and some office help? So how should I imagine a FreeZone?
So it's a good one. It can be both. It can be virtually as well as physical. So there is a distinction here in Dubai. We have 44 FreeZones, by the way, for people to know. There is only a few which are fenced. Fenced meaning like there's a physical fence around it, and there's 24/7 security. So what we have over here, it's almost like an ecosystem. So we have an office cluster. This is where we have technology startups, right, operating out of it, and it can be 100% foreign owned, which is great. Then we have a social cluster. This is more for our employees, but we are adding by the day or by the month at the moment. We are adding gastronomy in it. We're having F&B. We have grocery retailers, everything. And then last but not least, we have the biggest cluster, which is logistics. And we are catering mainly or focusing mainly on the e-commerce piece of it. That means, unlike in the other FreeZones where you see massive pallets going in and out, for us, it's like the smaller consignments.
Okay, but let's stick for a while with that. So is there if there's 44 FreeZones, then there must be USP per FreeZone, because I think from a tax perspective, they're offering more or less the same, right? You can get your merchandise free in, free out, as long as it's not consumed locally. But is there so much demand for FreeZone services that it makes sense to open up the 45th FreeZone, or how does it come?
Yeah, that's a very good point. So what we have basically is, first of all, you're right. By the end of the day, you could see them as landlords, right? So they're offering office space, they're offering logistics space. So you need to look for a unique value proposition. In our case, we are focusing on the e-commerce part. And for us, it doesn't stop at, hey, I give you a license, I give you the consulting, what license you need, how to set up a business, we give you space. We are also helping to boost them on e-commerce. That means in this case, it could be a brand coming in. They want to go on brand.com. They want to connect to marketplaces such as Namji, Noon, Amazon, you name it, or even social commerce. And we cover everything end to end, going in there saying like, you know what? Okay, You'll come in. We have our own photography studio. We'll take pictures. We do content management. We do channel management, connecting you to all the marketplaces, fulfillment, last mile, as well as customer service. And that is a true one-stop shop proposition. And it's unique because no one else offers it.
What is a typical kind of company that is starting here? Is it new distributors? Is it companies that do have an existing retail business elsewhere in the world that are moving into a FreeZone? Or who's doing it?
So can be both in this case. So we have a massive request from brands overseas and even retailers coming into the market and say, you know what, I want to go into the Middle East, but I have no idea how to do it. So that's the first one where we go in. However, we also have a lot of established companies who are saying like, you know what, let's open a branch office within the duty free trade zone. And the main reason is some of their products, they never touch Dubai. They never touch mainland, how we call it. So they will be re-exported. And there they definitely see the benefit to have their products in here because they would save on taxes when it comes in.
You have just recently relocated into this region, as you said. So what is the biggest difference you are observing when it comes to like e-commerce adoption, e-commerce penetration, service level, logistics level compared to the Southeast Asia region we were before?
That's an interesting one, especially since I just relocated and had to build up my whole apartment and everything, go shopping, get all the IKEA stuff, which everyone is aware, obviously, to get that in. And I was comparing a lot to what's going on. So one of the things which I realized here is in Asia is much more focused on super apps. Here you have, for instance, a Careem. A Careem started with ride hailing. They went into other services. Now you can do cleaning, donations, insurance, whatever. So they want to become a super app from not where I come from, because initially I'm German, but in Asia, what we are seeing is there's way more companies out there who want to become the super app. A super app being the first one, a whole ecosystem. The first thing you look on in the morning, order your coffee, then order everything.
Like Gojek, for example, Indonesia.
Gojek, Indonesia, perfect example, funded obviously quite heavily. They went together with Tokopedia, which is the biggest marketplace over there. Now they're GoTo. And GoTo is massive. Other examples, for instance, look at Alipay. Look at Lazada, right? They all started somewhere. On Lazada now, you can book flights. On the marketplace itself, you can book your cab. And this is something where I see a lot of opportunity here in the market, long term, that people are saying like, you know what, actually, we should build our own super app. And so far, like I said, besides really looking into Careem, no one else has offered it. And last but not least, if you look at someone like Alipay, they are already coming into the market slightly, but they do. So you can pay taxes already with Alipay. In Dubai Mall, you can pay with Alipay. So they're slowly coming into the market. And if brands over here or if companies won't build it up, I'm pretty sure there is plenty out there who want to come.
Who do you think is best equipped to become a super app here? Is it one of the big marketplaces like Noon or Amazon, or is it one of the fast delivery grocery services that do have already like the riders in order to run a super app?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So I think, first of all, definitely that Careem is on a very good track, because the only thing what they're lacking today is the physical product, right? They sell a little bit here and there, but groceries and whatnot, but they're not selling electronic article. They're not selling sports, right? But they have, I think, 42 million active users. That means everyone is on it already. So what does it take, you know? And they will realize, you know what? Maybe we should onboard that. If you take an Amazon, they have around 22 million visits a month, right? If you take the next best one is Noon, 20 million. But Careem could just take them on by having already double the amount of active users. And I think this one is at the moment, if you ask me, there is not really one clear winner yet. However, I think it could be similar to what you mentioned with Gojek. There might be some of the big guys, the big guns, getting together and saying like, you know what, let's build it.
And as you said, you just started like equipping your own apartment 2 months ago. And if you would compare like the level of like e-commerce capabilities apart from the super app offering, what else have you observed? Was there better prices, better offers, better delivery options, or was it way behind of your Southeast Asia experience?
Yeah. So the first thing what I realized walking into MOE, Mall of Emirates, obviously is like, this is bloody massive, right? We're talking about 650 stores. everyone said like, you know what, you'll have to see it, of course, Dubai Mall as well. And then I went online and I said, you know what, I have this one brand which I really like. So I went on the Mall app. On the Mall app, I realized that only 58 stores out of the 650 I actually offered on the app itself. That means 9% of all the stores who are there are actually available to buy online. And that's the first one where I said, you know what, there's a huge opportunity because in Asia, malls, they operate as an enabler. They help their tenants to go online. And here I haven't really, maybe because a lot of them are playing a mono-brand strategy. That could be one. And especially since we mentioned the IKEA stuff is instant gratification. So one of the things what I realized, if I want to order food, if I want to order grocery, no problem. I get it within 45 minutes here. Even if I want to pay more, if I want to have something very urgently, be it a vacuum cleaner or whatever, in Asia, you have the opportunity to pay for it. You probably even pay a ride-hailing company $20. They deliver it same day. And here you have to wait. You get it normally next business day. In the worst case, it takes 2 to 3 days to deliver. And I think this is something which should be cracked. And I'm not just talking about the last mile, because I think it has more to do with how the fulfillment is being managed.
Okay, but because I think we have to admit that like the Southeast Asia or Asia e-commerce capability, delivery capabilities are way beyond of what we've seen in anywhere in the world. So even like in Germany, France, UK, you just cannot get the product if it's not in the retailer's logistics system, it's not part of the DHL, Absolutely. UPS or whatever delivery system. You cannot get it, and you cannot. You can pay your mother driving to a store, buying it for you, but I wouldn't count it as an e-commerce experience. But do you see a big difference like in the e-commerce market share? We had some speakers here online saying that in some parts of the region, the market share is like already like 10-15%. In the more African countries like Egypt, we are talking about 2 to 3%, so very low market share. So when you're talking with your network, with your friends from Dubai CommerCity, are they still tending to buy offline, going into a mall, or they are getting everything online?
I think visiting a mall is a very big part of the culture here. But I think the way how malls can transfer is to become more digitally enabled. And people actually, especially Gen Zers, people between 10 and 25 years, they're not going to a mall anymore just for shopping. They want to be entertained. As a product of it, they're going out and they buy something on the way. And now 10 to 25 years might not be the ones who have the big money, but they're the biggest influencers for all the Generation X, for all the millennials and whatnot, right? Coming back to your question in terms of e-commerce size. So right now, if I have it right in my head, we're talking about in the UAE, $4 billion US dollar on e-commerce revenue. If I compare it to the Southeast Asia, it's depends on country. You have Vietnam, you have Indonesia, which are taking off like crazy. But we're talking about populations of 100 million in Vietnam and 260 in Indonesia. So it's not like for like. But if I take Singapore, for example, you guys here, or I'm now too here, achieving 4 billion. If you take Singapore, they have 5 billion. If you take it across the population, here you have, I think, almost 10 million. In Singapore, you have, I think it's 6.4 or whatever. 5.6. So that means by the end of the day, the e-commerce adaptation over there has happened way more frequent. Here, I would say we're just hitting the 10%. In places like Singapore, albeit smaller, they're already hitting 15%. And last but not least, look at China. It can hit the 50 or 60. And I'm just thinking is the market really ready to serve such a demand?
When you're observing the discussions around e-commerce strategies, how would you say, what is the driver here? If you go into European countries where Amazon is active, I would say 80% of all e-commerce projects are driven out of fear by Amazon. Not by ambition, offering something better, faster, more convenient, but everybody is like fearing that Amazon could take over this particular category and therefore they will lose market share. What is the driver here? Is it also fear for Amazon, Noon, or others, or is it more like ambition driven?
I see actually two motivators for brands and retailers alike. So the first one is here, it's way more fragmented. So here you don't have an Amazon who is, if you're on Amazon, you pretty much cover most of the entire population. Looking at Asia, looking at here, you have noon as a strong second, which is not far behind Amazon. That means if you only list on Amazon, you're losing out potentially 50% of your clients, which no one wants. That's the first part, right? So it's highly fragmented, which also means like, how do you do omni-channel? How can you manage one inventory across all these channels? So there's a lot of questions around it. The second one, which I think is especially going towards the direction is, and this is something what we saw in Southeast Asia 10 years ago, where brands are coming to us and basically saying one of the biggest electronics companies, and they said, Mitch, you know what? The biggest problem we have today, we don't know who the end consumer is. Because they're working with retailers, they're working with telcos, with distributors. They don't know whether it's Alexander who just buy the latest iPhone. And by the end of the day, this data should belong to the brand, right? And they have the feeling today when they work with Amazon, what they're getting is limited, obviously, in terms of data. If they're working with some of the distributors, is a black box. And then, if you have a standard distributor here, 95% of their business is offline. That means how hard are they really trying to grow that online business? Because whatever initiative they're driving, it has a much higher impact on offline, right? So I think there will be a change where brands are just saying like, how can I do my D2C? How can I go direct to my clients? And this one will come here as well. It can be either supported by the distributors. And I saw the Alshaya presentation yesterday. They have seen that there is a change from a brand perspective. If not, there will be some disruptors coming in. And I think that's quite a good area here with all the companies you guys have under your umbrella, where they're saying like, you know what, how can we revolutionize the market? How can we disrupt it? And how can we offer a unique selling proposition?
Some of the former speakers said that the execution of strategies is somewhat limited in this region because of the lack of talent. So and you're offering obviously like an infrastructure kind of thing, warehousing, tax, logistics, office setup. Would you agree that it's hard to find commerce talent here in the region?
After my 6 weeks, I honestly have to say I cannot be 100% sure about it. But I think you mentioned already something 2 questions ago where you said, you know what, other markets are way further ahead. Yeah. So here, 2 Germans sitting, talking to each other in another language. But we come from a market where it's just more well established. That means we've seen how you build business, but more importantly, we have seen how you scale it. And the scaling part, I think, is super important. And this is something, we all know you can, receive orders in Excel and whatnot and just, barcode it and just send it in there. But if you really want to scale, you need a proper technology. And, but it doesn't necessarily need to be European. It can be American, whatnot. I think it needs to be a mix. And one thing what we are building within Dubai CommerCity as well, we have some collaboration with the university where we say, you know what, how can we make the people coming in more tech savvy? How can we explain to them e-commerce? Because this will become our future workforce.
Thank you, Mitch.
Thanks, Alex, for having me.